About ready? All right, welcome to the November 21st, 2024 regular Board of Education meeting for Folsom Cordova Unified School District. We are in our open session. In a moment, we will be going to closed session. Time will be given to speakers at the discretion of the board chairperson. The law allows the public to address the board on any matter not on the agenda, but the law prohibits actions by the board on non-agenda items. Superintendent, will you call roll?
Mr. Clark.
Here.
Ms. Larrett.
Here.
Ms. Lofthouse.
Here.
Mr. Reed.
Here.
Mr. Huey.
Here.
All are present.
Thank you. In closed session, we will be discussing any of the following: student matters, employee relations, conference with legal counsel, conference with real property negotiators, and personnel matters. We will take public comments for closed session items. I don't see any in person. There are none online. In that case, we will recess closed session and be back at 6 p.m. All right, welcome back to open session of the November 21st, 2024 FCUSD Regular Board of Education meeting. We are on item 4, open session, and call back to order. We'll now have our land acknowledgement and pledge of allegiance. Mr. Merrill, would you like to start us with the land acknowledgement?
As the Folsom Cordova Unified School District, we acknowledge that our administrative facilities and schools occupy the unceded territory of the Nishinan and Miwok, the original people of the skies, land, and waters where we work and learn.
We also recognize the presence and ancestral stewardship of the Nishinan ancestral tribes, the Esto, Notomuse, and the Nisim Pewenan to the north.
And the Miwok ancestral tribes and the Amachumne, Kasumne, Halapumne, and Mokalumne to the south along the Great Sacramento River systems since time immemorial.
We understand that this land, upon which our institutions are built, was once flourishing with natural resources and sustained by the ancestral knowledge and practices of these indigenous communities.
We acknowledge the injustices of colonialism and attempted genocide that have impacted these communities and recognize the resilience of their descendants who continue to thrive today.
In our daily endeavors of teaching, learning, leadership, and community engagement, we commit to supporting, respecting, and honoring their culture, traditions, and lifeways.
We pledge to work together for the evolving vision of the Miwok and Nishinan, especially all future generations.
Great, thank you. If you'll please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. On to item 4C, broadcast statement. A broadcast and recording is being made at the direction of the board, and the broadcast may capture images and sounds of those attending the meeting. Tonight's meeting is being live streamed on the district's YouTube channel. The recording will be cablecast as replays on Metro Cable Channel 14, the local government affairs channel on the Comcast and DirecTV UVerse cable systems. The recording will also be closed captioned and video streamed on metro14live.saccounty.gov. Folsom Cordova Unified School District Board Policy 1313 promotes mutual respect, civility, and orderly conduct among employees, parents, and the public. We will treat staff, parents, and members of the public with respect and ask the same in return. If any member of the public uses obscenities or communicates in a demanding, loud, insulting, and/or demeaning manner, the board will calmly and politely admonish the person to communicate civilly. Public comments during board meetings are an important component of public engagement and transparency. Members of the public will not be permitted to yield their speaking time to another member of the public. All written comments submitted by 3 p.m. today to the board have been read. Per the Brown Act, the board is not allowed to enter into a two-way discussion on any matter not on the agenda. Superintendent, will you call roll?
Ms. George. Mr. Merrill.
Here.
Mr. Clark.
Here.
Ms. Larrett.
Here.
Ms. Lofthouse.
Here.
Mr. Reed.
Here.
Mr. Huey.
Here.
Please note that student board member Ms. George is absent.
Thank you. On then to item 5, reporting out closed session. We have no items to report out of closed session. Brings us to item 6, adoption of agenda. Do we have a motion to adopt the agenda?
I'll move it.
Motion by Mr. Clark. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Ms. Lofthouse.
Mr. Merrill.
Aye.
Mr. Clark.
Aye.
Ms. Larrett.
Aye.
Ms. Lofthouse?
Aye.
Mr. Reed?
Aye.
Mr. Hui?
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you. And on to item 7, agenda consent. All items on the agenda consent will be acted upon by one motion without discussion. Should any trustee or other person request that an item be considered separately, that item will be pulled for discussion and action. I don't see any in-person public comments for agenda consent. Do we have any online? No. In that case, do we have a motion to approve agenda consent?
Move.
Motion by Ms. Larrett. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Clark.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mr. Clark?
Aye.
Ms. Larrett?
Aye.
Ms. Lofthouse?
Aye.
Mr. Reed?
Aye.
Mr. Hui?
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you. All right, then we are on to actually, before we get there, I believe we do have an announcement.
Yes, we do. Well, the board just approved our next Director of Food Services. Folsom Cordova is pleased to announce Ashley Ash as the Director of Food Services. With nearly 15 years of experience in school food service, Mrs. Ash brings a wealth of experience in child nutrition and a steadfast dedication to student success. Over the past 4 years, she served as the nutritionist and food service supervisor for the Folsom Cordova Unified School District. Before her role at the district, she worked with the Food and Nutrition Services Department in both Elk Grove Unified and Fairfield-Sassoon Unified School District. Mrs. Ash is deeply passionate about providing students with healthy, nutritious meals while fostering positive eating habits that support their overall well-being. A proud Sacramento native, Mrs. Ash holds a Bachelor of Arts in Health Science with a focus on community health education from Sacramento State University. Stingers up. Please join us in giving a warm welcome to Mrs. Ash as we look forward to a future of growth, innovation, and student success under her leadership. Welcome.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited and honored to have the opportunity to lead our dedicated food services team. I can't wait for that opportunity to continue enhancing our student meal services. So, yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you and congratulations. All right, thank you, Superintendent. Before we move on to item 8, I guess I would like to ask the board, with their permission, if there would be any objection. We have a room full of students who look very eager, and I'm very eager to see what they have to show us. Would there be any objection to moving up FCLA's report to right now? And we can come back to the rest of the agenda? Okay. In that case, Mr. Peterson.
Well, good evening. Good evening, Superintendent Swanson, Board President Hui, and members of the board. Boys and girls, I was very excited when I started seeing so many kids in here. I'm glad that you guys are here. I am honored to introduce Lori Miller-Powell and her amazing team from Riverview STEM, and truly highlighting her tireless efforts that she puts into her school. So let's give her a round of applause.
Okay, good evening, Superintendent Swanson and esteemed board. My name is Lori Powell, and I'm the proud principal of Riverview STEM Academy. We are here tonight to celebrate STEM leadership development at Riverview. This is our 10th anniversary of being open, so we have a lot to celebrate. And this isn't, okay. These are pictures of some of our student leaders and a snapshot of some of the initiatives that are happening at Riverview, including the picture in the middle of our Socktober Sock Drive, where we collected 375 pairs of socks that we donated to the Mather Community Campus. We are very proud of that accomplishment, just in time for cold weather. And we believe, we believe our students are the leaders and change makers of tomorrow. They know that, I've told them many times. And these are a few of the initiatives that we have endeavored on to achieve our goals. We have one of the only National Elementary Honor Society chapters in our region, so they are here tonight. They will be sharing. We also have a very active student advisory committee. Our most recent accomplishment with student advisory is we had a canned food drive where we collected over 700 cans of food. We partnered with an FCUSD partnership that we found out about from Chris Clark, Blessings in a Backpack, which we really appreciated because it ensures that our donations stay in our community. We also have 2 mentoring programs for our 4th and 5th graders, working with our younger students. So there are pictures of them doing their work. They are outstanding. And then we also have a unique K through 5 public speaking development curriculum. And that picture up there is one of our 1st graders doing one of her public speaking speeches. I'm super proud of that also. As we said in the beginning, we are developing leaders, and leaders need to know how to speak in public. Okay. We also work very hard to build community at Riverview. One of our proudest accomplishments, and you'll see tonight, is our work around building community for girls in STEM. So we know that girls have historically been underrepresented in STEM careers, and so it is one of our highest priorities that we make sure that girls are not only represented 50%, in fact, we will not open a class or a grade level without 50% girls in it. And then knowing that that's not enough to change this trend, we also make sure that our girls have ample leadership opportunities so that they're not just in STEM, but they're leaders in STEM. And we will be hearing from some of them tonight. So STEM is very focused on innovation and out-of-the-box thinking. So we have some pictures of our students' opportunities to discover, create, explore, and optimize their learning. So at this time, I would like to offer our students an opportunity to speak about what they like most about STEM. So I'm going to invite our National Honor Society leaders to come up. Okay, White. Okay, and our leaders are going to tell everyone what they like most about STEM.
What I like most about STEM is the opportunities our teachers give us to learn more about all aspects of science, technology, engineering, and math, which can help us in our future careers.
What I like about STEM is the opportunities it gives you in life and how it lets you use your imaginative self.
What I like about STEM is just like what Arlo and Wyatt said, it's really creative and imaginative. You get to show both sides of yourself, and the most favorite thing I like in STEM is our robotics team. We also have a girls robotics team, which is currently working on a robot too.
What I like about STEM is how the teachers in Riverview STEM Academy teach all of their students to be able to learn the skills of science, technology, engineering, and math for future careers that can be useful in the future.
What I like most about STEM is that it teaches you teamwork and how to work with others well, and you can show your creative side and get to do many things that you usually don't get to do.
What I like most about STEM is that STEM helps us pursue our future careers no matter how big they are or no matter how small they are. What I enjoy about STEM is that you get to build, create, and learn brand new things. Also, the fact that the teachers are there to support you through every step of the process.
Okay, and now we'll have our girls robotics team. They have a lot of local accolades, a lot of notice. One of our robotics volunteers suggested that because they are so skilled that we should divide them and put one of the girls on each of the boys' team, and we absolutely refused. They are killing it, and we want to celebrate that. So girls, come up. Okay, and our girls are going to tell you what they like about robotics while I set up a place for them to demonstrate their prized robot.
What I like most about robotics is getting to work with my team and getting to know them and getting to know how to work with them and also getting to know how to engineer and design.
What I like most about robotics is that we all work together and to like create something better. And like we had an old robot and we made it like all better.
What I like most about robotics is when we go to the competitions, we see other people's robots and get to learn what like they're making and how to code it.
What I like most about robotics is getting to share like the teamwork and overcome problems that we have of our robot. What I like about robotics is that we do a lot of teamwork when it comes to building the robot, and I feel like that has been one of the most funnest experiences in robotics.
Okay, well, they set up their robot. You girls, you can bring it up. I just want to mention that our robotics team, girls and boys, are so excited and committed to this. They are at the school sometimes at 7:00 in the morning working on their robots. At recess, at lunch, I often find them shoes off in the cafeteria working on their robots, and after school. And our parents too, who are here, who I really appreciate, have a lot of investment in this and their children as well. So girls, show us what it does. That's okay. Good job, girls. So lots of nervousness coming into this, and today at lunch the robot broke. So they've been trying to fix it and it sort of worked, but that's part of the STEM iterative process, is that things don't always go the way you wanted them to, and we work together to make them work. But certainly that is a labor of love. They built that from scratch, from absolutely nothing to something that at school we have a field and they can capture those balls and put them in a basket, and that's part of their competition. So excellent job, girls. And that is it from us. Thank you so much for letting us come and share our passion and celebrate our students. It was an honor to be here. They were very excited about coming, and we just appreciate the time.
Well, thank you. And I love the demonstration. I know you will keep working hard on it. It's 10 times better than anything I could have even imagined doing. So that's wonderful. Thank you so much. I do want to open it.
Yeah, Mr. President, if I may, I just want to make a comment about these students at Riverview STEM. You guys are amazing. The canned food drive is so appreciated. And I know that you guys are working on a toy drive for Blessings in a Backpack, but every year you guys raise more and more canned foods, more and more toys for underserved kids. And I just applaud what you do. And I know that, and you guys may not be a part of it, but I think a couple of years ago, Falcon Academy had a robotic competition. And I do remember students from Riverview STEM participating and scoring really high. So I just appreciate everything that you guys are doing. Keep doing it. You young ladies, STEM is for you. You'll make it, all right? So I just want to let you know how proud I am of you, okay? Did a great job.
All right, thanks again. think it's fair.
Do you mind? I'm just
Go,
going to make
please.
I'm just going to make a comment for all the future scientists, engineers, and mathematicians in the audience. If you have a passion for teaching, I know a district that in about 15 years that'll probably want to hire you. So you just look to your parents. Just know that there's a job waiting for you guys. All right. Thank you.
And Ms. Powell, one quick question. The sock drive, unfortunately I missed it, but are you guys still accepting donations of socks? Okay.
Leaders also care about their community and contribute when they can.
Awesome. All right. Thank you.
Great. Well, thanks again. I think it's fair to say that made all of our nights, and we really appreciate you all being here. Thank you. Okay, thank you, board, for letting me move that item around. Rochelle, I just wanted to give you one last challenge on the minutes, so thank you. So we're on then to item 8, special presentations. We do not have any from students. I believe the staff does have one. Item 1, recognition of outgoing board member.
We certainly do. Today we have an outgoing board member. In appreciation for our current president, Tim Huey, for his term of service from 2020 to 2024. We have a little small recognition for you. We appreciate your years of dedication and commitment serving on the Folsom Cordova Unified School District Board of Education. Thank you for empowering all students to thrive through educational excellence. I'll say a few words and then I'll hand it over to your colleagues on the dais, and then we'll end up taking a picture. I just want to say in my first superintendency, I couldn't have imagined a better colleague to come and to learn about the district and to have in my ear about what we were doing here, what we were working on, and a person that supported me to like on-ramp and be successful, because we were on the phone as early in May, right before I officially started, quite often, in many ways, you giving me a heads up about what was happening in the district. And I just want to express, I know it's only been 4 or 5 months, but my heartfelt appreciation for your compassion and your kindness during a really important time for me in my career. So thank you so much. Who's next? Yeah, go for it.
Tim, it's going to be very weird not having you up on the dais. You know, the first time I met you, gosh, I guess it was you were running for office at that time. And how can I paint this picture? I met this Tim. He had this long flowing lock of hair. It was very impressive. And then Tim got elected. And then I think it was the second board meeting. I think you were sworn in with the due. But then all of a sudden, the second board meeting, in comes this person who I'm like, I don't know who that is. Who's that? It was Tim. He's looked like that ever since.
The stress caught up with me in 2 weeks.
It was a transformation, yeah. But you know, obviously, you know, we share something that very few people share, and Chris and I share that as well, which is board members who traversed the pandemic together. That was not easy, far from it. You know, and I really appreciate and have appreciated and will continue to appreciate your perspective on things, especially as it relates to mental health, as well as, you know, student-focused issues. And one of the things that was transformative, I mean, not just one, but one of the things I just want to highlight is, you know, your desire to make sure that the funding that we received for Title I schools were actually spent in Title I schools. That was your number one initiative that when you came on the board, and you know, within 2 years you got exactly what you wanted, and rightfully so. But you know, as any initiative, it takes a champion. And on hindsight, you know, many times these initiatives, you're like, well, why wasn't that being done before that? But thank you, and you know, I have to say the students that benefit from your wisdom and your passion would thank you as well. But you're a silent leader, and it's never about you. It's always about the kids. So anyway, I really appreciate everything you've done, and again, I'm going to miss you.
Go. So, especially coming in as someone outside of education and not really knowing what's going on, I really appreciated Tim's just quiet leadership and guidance. Just really a major mentor in my life, which I really appreciate that. And I, to David's point about the funding, I mean, it's been nothing short of transformative, I think, for our schools. And I think there's just a level of appreciation that I have in my heart for you, because you could see past everything that we had been doing, and you could see what it was that we needed, and you were able to be very decisive in the action. And really, one thing I would just really admire about you is you always have a North Star, and it's always about doing the right thing. And I know that even if we maybe didn't vote the same way on something, that you always voted what you truly believed was the right thing. And I can always really appreciate a colleague that is just really got that center to them. And I will truly miss you up here. Your steady hand on the wheel. I always appreciate. You're always so calm, and I hope to always kind of reflect that in my life. But I'm still working on that. So we'll miss you.
I'll go ahead and go and just say thank you, Tim, for your leadership. And I wish you nothing but the best in your future endeavors.
Thank you, Tim. And I was on the other side of it, working as an employee during the pandemic with you on the board. And the same calm demeanor is something that never changed. Even it didn't matter how crazy it was in the boardroom or what was going on, both as an employee or as a fellow board member. So thank you for that. Just even keel, always focused, being always focused on the kids, and enjoy the Thursday nights that you're watching us on the news.
Thanks, Karen.
I'd also like to say thank you. You've been quite an anchor to this board ever since I've been here. I'm always looking forward to the handshakes at the beginning of every meeting, and the how are yous. They really mean a lot to me. I'd say my favorite memory of you was when you came to the SAB meeting, I think when it was pouring rain, and we were in that super cramped room, and you came and watched Josh present a little presentation. I think that was one of my favorite memories. You were showing up and showing out in this. It was awful weather, and it was a whole scheduling mess, but I really appreciated that. So I will miss you, but yeah, thank you.
Well, appreciate it. Obviously, it's much appreciated. I was telling these people earlier, I don't know why I felt nervous tonight, like it was my first board meeting again. And I still kind of feel that a little bit. So I really value all the words, and thank you very much. I just would share a couple things, and I think I will start this, I imagine, in a way that no statement in this board has ever been started. In the words of the great Rod Stewart, I wish that I knew now. I wish that I knew what I know now when I was younger. One of my all-time favorite songs. Hard to get those words out, though. I think what my today self would tell my 4 years ago self is that we have a district that's full of people, from students and teachers, some of whom are here tonight, and the support staff to the district staff and the superintendent, who are full of compassion, fierce determination, and thoughtfulness. And as I've reflected recently about these past 4 years, I certainly am full of gratitude for so many, for those who have shown me patience. There are many of you who have shown me leadership, kindness, and grace. I'm blown away by the staff who display these characteristics day in and day out for the benefit of our students. That tireless creativity and dedication has produced important and systems level change in FCUSD. We could name many of them. We've asked the staff to accomplish many of them in these last 4 years. But I did want to call out the one that, at least for me, has been most meaningful that Mr. Reed had mentioned earlier. I think through the work of our entire team, think of the hours that Mr. Martin put into this, amongst others, we've redesigned how our supplemental funding is allocated, ensuring that the funds get to the sites that generate the funds. And the site level staff decide the best way to utilize those funds in their specific context. This change did take a great deal of time and effort, and the entire FCUSD community is better for it, I believe. So I know that I can walk away from this dais tonight feeling grateful and feeling confident, knowing that the district is in good hands with all of these people that are part of it. So thank you all for the kind words. It is incredibly special and meaningful, and it's hard to wrap up kind of what a process like this is like. So it's really helpful to me. I appreciate it.
Gavel, gavel.
A little gavel for you. Stuff, we'll get it right.
Well, thank you all again. I will treasure this. I will put this specific plaque on my wall, and thank you so much for it. Okay, enough of that. We will move on to item 9, public comment. Time will be given to the speakers at the discretion of the board chairperson. The law allows the public to address the board on any matter not on the agenda, but the law prohibits actions by the board on non-agenda items. I believe we do have a public comment from Earl Smith. Mr. Smith, welcome.
Good evening, board, President Huey, Mr. Swanson. I hate to be a joy kill. That's kind of how Faith puts it sometimes. I want to bring something up that was brought to my attention. I'm going to read it first and understand I'm dyslexic, and then I'll read what the board policy is because it's on the top. The board shall not prohibit public criticism of district employees. However, whenever a member of the public initiates specific complaints or charges against an individual employee, the board president shall inform the complainant of the appropriate complaint procedure. I didn't know about this. And this is bylaws 9323. I have criticized employees in this district. I didn't know I had the right to do that. I think out of all the times I've got up here and have spoken, what I've actually been trying to do is process and feed my way through the district to find who is responsible for what. Watching on YouTube as I drive over here, seeing the kids with the robotics is amazing. Faith had that opportunity at Sherman Oaks Elementary. But it was actually a service I actually paid for that was after school. Imagine those children going all the way to the 8th grade, then going into high school and wanting to continue studying robotics. And they're told no, because you must have the skill that's above high school level. Heartbreaking. I do believe there's a lot of good people in this district. There are some people in this district that are just dishonest. I battle myself with everything that has happened in the last 2 years. especially with Miss Williams. But I asked the question, was Miss Williams given the proper training? Does she even know to the extent? My next uniform complaint will address that. It will be my last. I'm working on a book called Beating the Biased, How This Father Got Sole Custody. When you look at America's Got Talent or American Idol, they always tell a story before the person does their act. In this case, I guess Faith's story will be about Folsom High School. I don't need a television show. I have many friends that work on that show, or because it's one studio. But the story becomes more valuable than the actual talent. Faith has proven the point. She makes American River Jazz Choir. She makes the Folsom Lake Chambers Choir that does all jazz pieces. That's an AP class. So it shows, and I'm trying to get to the bottom of who's really in charge of that. And I'm going to show how the way it's set up right now is discriminating against students. Some people think discrimination is just about the color of their skin. In this case, it may not be that. But I am looking to change, I'm almost done. I'm looking to change that. And I'm hoping that the story in my book will end with a positive. I want to relay you as Safron's Jesus in the book. I have a lot of respect for you. I did my research on you. I think you are the right person for this place. So it's up to the district. It's up to the district's hands how that'll end. But my publicist and my attorney says I have the right to tell this story. I'm going to tell it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. That is all of the in-person comments I see. Do we have any online? No. Okay, bring us then to item 10, reports of district organizations. Of course, we've already heard from FCLA, so I'll have one last, but we'll start with our Student Advisory Board.
So unfortunately, I was not at our last SAB meeting as I was recovering from surgery. So I will save our report for next meeting when Mia is here. But our next meeting is December 12th at Folsom Middle. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, California School Employee Association. Mr. Corn, welcome.
Okay, we had no MOUs to ratify this past meeting. Good evening, board members and Superintendent Swanson. Okay. Tonight, I would like to say thank you to Scott Meyer and all involved in creating the PK through second behavior task force. This year has been an especially tough year so far for our preschool teachers. The ones on the task force are pleased to be a part of the collaboration and feel their voices are being heard and their input matters. We hope this type of collaboration continues with all committees that are implementing changes in policy and systems throughout the district. Classified staff feel appreciated when included in decision-making, not forgotten. President Huey, thank you for your service. It's truly been an honor to have a chance to work with you. Thank you.
Thank you. Our Folsom Cordova Education Association. Sanzabach, welcome.
So formal, Mr. Huey. So good evening, Mr. Swanson, family, board members, press, staff present and online. Mr. Huey, thank you very much for your service to FCUSD and to your community. Good luck to you in the future. 2 weeks ago and today, I participated in a new committee, the PK2 Behavioral Task Force. Why do we need this targeted committee? The answer to that question is what we are currently working on. Some of today's littlest scholars are some of our most challenging students. One might jump to the conclusion that it is special education, but it is not. Actually, more and more general education students are displaying aggressive behaviors. FCUSD is not unique in this challenge. It is a global issue that affects classrooms throughout the world. In this tiniest part of the globe, we need a strategic method that will work now while building on strategies for the future. The team comprises of different perspectives: BIAs, primary teachers, IAs, preschool personnel, special education specialists, cabinet members, and others, which help create a vision that will combine all points of view. This committee is dedicated to building a viable and sustainable approach that uses our present and future resources wisely while trying to meet the urgent needs of those who are grappling with this issue presently. One potential byproduct of this work is the retention of teachers, a goal of FCUSD and FCEA, but we definitely have had some challenges these last few months. We have lost teachers who have just given up, interns to veterans. They are just dropping their keys and saying, done. I can think of 5 teachers in the past few weeks that have done this in this case, and more who are thinking about it. This job is hard, and we need to find a way to support the individuals who work for FCUSD. Along with that work that I just described, there's another process that affects all staff: decisions made that directly affect them in and out of the classroom. Jointly, FCUSD and FCEA have been reaching out to our certificated staff in the last few weeks, more than I can ever remember. We have surveyed staff on different topics: benefits, the Inclusion Neighborhood SDC model, the October 14th PD, and now starting to gather input on the early stages of the new evaluation process. The data that we have gathered has one overarching theme: give us a voice in the decisions-making process before substantial changes happen. Our teachers have been given an outlet through these surveys and have voiced many suggestions about the process of new initiatives being rolled out. Again, these initiatives would be better served if teachers were included at the beginning of the process instead of a reaction after the fact. The results of the non-collaboration are outcries from staff and facing more hirings with a lesser pool. Remember, we do have a real teaching shortage, especially in special education. We need to keep our teachers so that our students' experience is a fully engaged and functional teacher. We need to hire more teachers as our district is growing, as teachers naturally retire, and as staff finds new opportunities. There is a finite group of these individuals to hire. Like I said, teacher shortage. We want to be able to say to our new hires, here at FCUSD, you can make a difference in a child's life and have a voice in that process as well. Tomorrow, after 3:30 or parent conferences end, school site staff will be on a well-deserved break. The FCEA Executive Board wishes everybody a relaxing break and a happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you.
Thank you.
District English Learner Advisory Committee.
No report this evening.
Great. Thank you, Dr. Huber. Okay, brings us to item 11, discussion action. We will start with item A, approve annual organizational meeting notice. The annual organizational meeting of the Folsom Cordova Unified School District Board of Trustees is set for Tuesday, December 17th, 2024 at 6 p.m. right here at the Education Service Center. Superintendent, do you have anything else you'd like to add on this one?
No, I mean, the rationale says it. Per education code, we're required to set an annual organizational meeting, which we have set for December 17th, which is our next board meeting. So.
Great. I know we do have a public comment. I do want to bring it to the board first if there are any questions. Not seeing any, so it looks like we have a public comment from Stan Jones. Welcome.
Growing up, going through school, going through college, going through grad school, going through the credential program, I never attended a school board meeting. I didn't know what they did, and they obviously, you all affect the community and our kids and what happens in the classroom, which is what I've learned from going to school board meetings, volunteering for committees, and so forth. A couple of years ago, this is presumed this is the meeting where we're electing a new president and whatever for the coming year, officers. And if it's not, then it's at another time. One of the things I got to do is a couple of years ago was to sit in the back of the room, and as long as I didn't speak, because it wasn't my meeting, I got to listen to in 2 different training sessions for board members, which was really good because it was put on by CSBA. And if you don't know what you're supposed to do and you start a new job, it's a challenge. One of the things that came up that got some discussion had to do with the Brown Act. And the Brown Act, I thought I had to go home and look, and I thought it had to do with either Jerry Brown or his father or something. And they're laughing because they know what I know, which is it has nothing to do with those people. Brown is a common name, and it's really about Ralph Brown, whoever he was. So the idea is that in an election like we just concluded earlier this month, you can talk behind the scenes, you can negotiate, you can accept donations, you can bribe people, influence people with money or power or positions or all that stuff. But in the education code and in the education process, along with things related to that, the Brown Act says that we will not have meetings outside of the public meetings for public organizations such as school boards. So I just mentioned that as a result of something I learned a couple of years ago. And if anyone needs more explanation or detail about it, I could provide that. But I think we know what that means and the difference between a board meeting election process and the activities occurring before and the ones that are barred by Brown. Anyway, thank you for what you do.
Thank you. I'll bring it back to the board for any final comments, or if there are no comments, a motion on item A. Oh, actually, I apologize. Should go to online. There are no online comments, so back to the board.
Motion.
Motion by Ms. Lofthouse.
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Clark. If there are no further comments, Superintendent?
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mr. Clark?
Aye.
Ms. Larrett?
Aye.
Ms. Lofthouse?
Aye.
Mr. Reed?
Aye.
Mr. Hui?
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you. All right, item B, approve 2025 California School Board Association Delegate Assembly nomination.
Yeah, so annually, the Board of Education nominates a member to fill vacant or expiring seats for CSBA's Delegate Assembly in the Sacramento County Subregion 6B. We currently have one board member, Trustee Kara Lofthouse, serving on the Delegate Assembly, and her term expires in March of 2025, and she's interested in serving another term. It says there in the rationale, the term will serve from April 1st of 25 to March 31st of 27. Also, board member Chris Clark sits on CSBA's Board of Directors as Director-at-Large, African-American, and a member of the Delegate Assembly. So the recommended motion tonight is the board approve the nomination for board member Kara Lofthouse for the California School Boards Association Delegate Assembly for the 2-year term beginning on April 1st.
Great, all right. I'll bring it back to the board for any questions on that. Not seeing any, I don't see any in person. There are none online. I'll bring it back to any final comment or motion to approve item B.
I'll move it.
Motion by Mr. Clark.
A second.
Second by Mr. Reed.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mr. Clark?
Aye.
Ms. Larrett?
Aye.
Ms. Lofthouse?
Aye.
Mr. Reed?
Aye.
Mr. Hui?
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0.
Great. All right. Congratulations, Ms. Lofthouse.
Thanks.
Thank you, Trustee Lofthouse and Trustee Clark.
Trustee Clark. Okay. Item C, approve revised board bylaw 9323 meeting conduct.
Yeah, so for the board's consideration tonight is some revisions on 9323 on page 2. It's just cleaning up a little bit of the language that what I would argue the math doesn't math when you're doing all of that. And so reading just the green portions of the revision cleans up that language. I will note for the board in your support of student voice, we looked at surrounding districts to make sure to align this in many ways. The one aberration from our policy that we kept in place is that we're the only district locally that allows for longer time for student speakers. So I'm just really proud about that, and thank you for that. So it's great.
Great. So, okay, any questions from the board on this one? Don't have any in-person public comments, none online. So bring it back to the board, final comments or a motion.
I'll move.
Okay, motion by Ms. Larrett,
I'll second.
second by Ms. Lofthouse.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mr. Clark?
Aye.
Ms. Larrett?
Aye.
Ms. Lofthouse?
Aye.
Mr. Reed?
Aye.
Mr. Hui?
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0.
Great, thank you. Item D, approve revised board policy 0410, non-discrimination in district programs and activities.
Yeah, so this policy was reviewed by the policy subcommittee on October 7th, 2024. Just a reminder to the board, it was on the agenda for our November 7th meeting, and it was pulled from that agenda. This includes CSB updates. I'll spend a little time going through those. It adds to protected categories, the categories that have been added to the Title IX regulations. It adds language to reflect the new law, SB 153, which prohibits governing board from adopting or approving textbooks or instructional materials that would subject a student to unlawful discrimination as defined in Ed Code Section 220. As well as it adds language to reflect new federal regulations, which include specific standards for district website and mobile applications to be accessible to individuals with disabilities.
Questions from the board?
So
have a lot of notes.
I know
wanna
when
make
when we originally talked about bringing back a lot of these, and this was one that we talked about briefly, and then we were going to move just because it fit in line with this. And I suggested that some of these policies be looked at by other teams, one of being our equity team. And I think when I read through this one, this is one of those specific policies that I would like additional eyes on before making a vote to approve any changes. So my suggestion for this one specifically would be to possibly table this one and not vote on this one until we can have the equity team. I'd probably also like the curriculum and instruction team to look through it just because it talks about programs. And just have those additional eyes and reflection and voice in this policy.
And Mr. President, I concur with Ms. Lofthouse on that, but my question would be, how soon can we get it in front of CNI and the equity department?
Most of CNI works here, so I think that would be an easy one. I think the next equity meeting, I don't know when that is, so.
Yeah, I'd have to find out from Dr. Peace when the next meeting is. And of course, there is a little bit of a crunch because we're going into November break and then we come back and then short window into winter break. So, and in terms of this being an FPM issue. But we'd rally the troops as quickly as possible, obviously.
Mr. Swanson, on if we do table this, is this board policy time sensitive?
I believe it is. Dr. Ogden.
It is time sensitive. This is what I would consider a foundational document that we use to create other documents. So for example, talking about instructional materials, we're looking at 61.1 or 0.11. Mm-hmm. Those are other board policies when you're talking about the processes we use to select materials. What this is doing, it's aligning our board policies with the new Title IX discrimination laws. And so in February, we go through what's called an FPM audit, or a federal program monitoring audit. They will expect all of these board policies to be in place. If not, there will be a finding. And as a result of the finding, the cure is they impose on us to put these in place.
So would it seem reasonable to get this back to us in December or the first January meeting to get so that it can be in place by February?
I guess what I was, maybe I should look at it, explain something as I look at this. What is this document compared to other documents, right? So if you're talking about the equity team looking at decisions about making textbook adoptions, that is covered in another board policy. This board policy is aligning our definition of discrimination with the federal law. So this is the federal law. We will have to follow this foundational language here when it comes to choosing textbooks. This says there are some protections that we can't do when we're selecting textbooks. So I would say if the concern is textbook selection or curriculum selection or textbooks that aren't standard textbooks, then that would be addressed in 61.1.
Other questions?
It's not questions. I think, though, that we have a group of individuals that have come together as this is the work that they are most passionate about, and a voice that when we are talking about things as important as policy, that we should value their voice and their thoughts on that. I understand that it is aligning with federal language, but I also think that having a team that this is their focus. I mean, I wish it would have already gone to them, to be honest. And so I think that when we are talking about policy that is focused on ensuring that our district is following policy that is for equity, that they should be one of the first groups that sees it, not one of the last groups. And so, and I think that should be a precedent that they are a group that can look at that. And I know that there probably is a couple people on the policy team that are maybe both on the equity team, but when we are passing policy that is directly related to the work of this team, it should be something that they have their eyes on.
And actually, the next equity team meeting is December 11th. So would that give us enough time to, or maybe table it until after the first of the year? I mean, the first meeting.
Till the 19th, I think, is that December 19th?
Yeah, so it's the 19th. So would that be enough time?
So I think, so from my perspective, I think like triangulating what everyone's mentioning with what Dawn said about, I'm thinking I feel like we can pull this, but I feel like the language is pretty set because it's the law, but pulling 61.1. Sorry.
6161.1 and 6161.11.
Which is around adoption of programs and materials.
Correct.
And that's, I think, the core of what you're getting at, Trustee Lofthouse, and we can make sure to bring that and get that on the 1211 agenda as well. Again, I do understand that this one, it's rigid because it's aligning to the law. But I think the essence of what you're asking for lives in that other policy, which we can get in front of them. If that is,
Yeah,
that's sufficient.
absolutely. Yeah, I think for me, being ahead of the law or putting our district at the forefront of a law, not trying to catch up later on, is important, I think, for this board and for this district and for the work that we're trying to do, and valuing the voices of the people that we are putting in the places of these teams. And we're making these committees, but let's value the voices on these committees for the work that they're supposed to be doing.
Yeah, I actually would agree with Trustee Lofthouse and Trustee Clark. I also have some thoughts that I've written down that I'd like to read. I'd also like to take a minute to express a concern I have with the proposed changes to BP 0410 and similar changes to BP 1312.3. I first want to clearly indicate that I am supportive of what I believe are the goals and objectives of both policies. My only concern with the proposed amendments before us is related to what I perceive as vague and contradictory provisions related to textbooks and library books. In BP 0410, the CSBA proposed amendments state that, quote, district programs and activities shall be free of any discriminatory use, selection, or rejection of textbooks, instructional materials, library books, or similar educational resources, end quote. This sentence seems to be saying that the district can't discriminate in the selection or rejection of any educational materials. I take this to mean that difficult material cannot be prevented from being included in textbooks, library books, etc. But just 2 paragraphs below these amendments appear language which reads, quote, the use of any textbook, instructional material, or other curriculum for classroom instruction or any other book or other resource in a school library shall not be adopted by the board or district if the use would subject a student to unlawful discrimination as specified in Education Code 220, end quote. For context, the cross-reference to Education Code 220 is the prohibition on discriminating on the basis of disability, gender, race, etc. So in the first referenced paragraph, the policy saying is the district cannot discriminate in the selection of educational resources. And the second paragraph says the exact opposite. So my first question is, who determines what constitutes discriminatory content in textbooks, library books, and instructional materials? Does this mean books such as Slaughterhouse-Five, Animal Farm, To Kill a Mockingbird, and The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn, to just name a few, could be deemed discriminatory because of offensive words contained therein? My second question relates to the text that says the district cannot use discretion in the selection of textbooks and library books. Does this mean that the district relinquishes any ability to say content needs to be developmentally appropriate? Do we have the ability to acknowledge that some material might be very appropriate for high schoolers and at the same time totally inappropriate at an elementary school, for elementary school students? Ideally, I would like this to go back for edits, including to the Equity Committee, to add developmentally appropriate language and to clean up some of the vague and contradictory language.
Thank you, Mr. Reed. So it sounds like where we're heading is let's take a pause on this, bring it back to the December 19th meeting after a couple of different groups have had a chance to look at it. Mr. Reed's questions have been looked at. We do have a public comment regarding this item, so we'll take that and then we can bring it back to the board to make sure.
And I also know that at Delegate Assembly in December, a lot of these policies are discussed at that state level. So I'll focus on this. We're supposed to actually like bring homework, and this is one of them, is the new policies. So I know that most of these policies are direct results of the CSBA recommendations. And so this will be one that fits in actually to my homework assignment. So I will make sure that
I can almost guarantee you it will be on the floor
yeah.
to
So it'll come up. And so we'll have more information after the conference as well.
Perfect. Good.
President Huey?
Yes. Where's that coming from?
I just wanted to share that the next regular board meeting would be
12th.
Tuesday, December 17th.
Tuesday, December 17th.
Yes.
Thank you.
Right.
Okay. Much appreciated.
It's on a Tuesday.
Okay, let's go to the public comment. Earl Smith.
Right. President Huey, board, Mr. Swanson. I saw this on the agenda. I am going to be attacking this area with my next uniform complaint. I would just like you guys to consider, especially with Mr. Reed bringing up some of the books, Faith coming in freshman year, reading books that are in the English class that use the N-word. I can't remember the specific book, but as she's going through the struggles with the jazz program and being placed in the closet, she makes the reference that she feels she's in the book. So in support of Mr. Reed's concerns, who makes the decision on what's appropriate, what's not appropriate? And then with President Huey, background in mental health, is the proper support there for the students who deals with strong content that reflects cultural issues that students who are not been developed in their interlobe to deal with some of the harsh subject matters. And then we see reflection in the community where people or students write racial slurs on walls at different high schools or so forth. I will say with the standards and giving in this, we should look at the standards because that's what I'm attacking. I have found where the standards, the CDE gives a clear pathway for high school, defines what's advanced when it comes to music or art or anything in VAPA, according to how things are implemented at Folsom High School. They don't line up with that standards. I was surprised to see that because it defines what advanced is. For someone who has no degree in music or someone who doesn't know anything about music, it's very clear where that person could say, this is defined as advanced. And then this is defined as high school level, junior, senior year. And then this is defined as 9th and 10th grade. And so based on that, that's what my uniform complaint, my next one's gonna be. It will be my last one. We'll address that, and it will show that Folsom High's practice in this area of music has been discriminatory, and it falls in this area. Now, I do understand what this is. I didn't get to say congratulations, Dr. Ogden. Congratulations. And I hope to get there one day. But like he says, it's contradictory. As I looked at all these policies, there's contradictory. I'm going to attack it. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. All right, we'll take any final comments, so I just kind of wrap up where I understand that we are right now. Oh, Dr. Ogden.
We also have board policy on equity. It's 0415. So I would recommend if we're going to look at these, we look at them together.
Okay. I think that's a great idea. Relating to this one, it sounds like we are going to table it till the December 17th meeting. In the meantime, it's going to be going to several different places. Policy committee can take a look at it, the equity committee, CSBA delegates, and then slipping my mind, what's that?
Education and curriculum.
Education and curriculum team, and the equity team, if I forgot that one. So we'll have a few different people take a look at this. We can also package it a little bit with the board policy that Dr. Ogden referenced. If everybody's on board with that, we can move forward with that. Is there any other comments or anything else we want to make sure we say about this? Okay, we're clear? Okay.
Ends up being just a discussion item.
Great, thank you. Item E, approve revised board policy 1312.3, uniform complaint procedure.
So this also was reviewed by the policy subcommittee on October 7th and then removed from our November 7th agenda. It includes CSBA updated language that adds to protected categories, the categories that have been added to the Title IX regulations, and it adds languages per a new law, SB 153, that has also been added to Ed Code, that adds to the definition of discrimination under UCP board adoption or approval of textbooks or instructional materials that would subject a student to unlawful discrimination as defined by Ed Code in Section 200. It revises language to reflect the new law AB 714 regarding newcomer students. Newcomer students are no longer required to be in a newcomer program to be exempt from district adopted graduation requirements, transfer of coursework and credit requirements, and specified consultation and notice requirements. This language is now reflected in 1312.3, this board policy that's up for consideration.
Thank you. Ms. Reed, I know you had some comments already about this. Did you have anything else you want to add?
Yeah, I think this policy should travel with board policy 0410. The language isn't identical, but it does have parallel language, and whatever feedback we get from the various committees, I think for consistency, we need to amend both so that both policies are consistent with each other.
Any objection about that from the board? If there's no other questions and we're all in agreement on that, I don't see any in-person comments. There are none online. So it sounds like we'll bring this one back as well on December 17th. Okay, item F, approve revised board policy 4040, employee use of technology.
Yeah, this policy was reviewed by the board policy subcommittee on November 4th. It includes both language from the CSBA, but also language included from the district. The CSBA updates, it updated the definition of just district technology. And the appropriate use of training regarding AI, regular review of guidance regarding cybersecurity, data privacy, and digital media awareness, and incorporation of that guidance into district processes. And employees should have no reasonable expectation of privacy. The additional language added by the district is that we added confidentiality of student information in compliance with FERPA. And we notice to employees that district is not liable for disclosures of personal information when saved to district technology, and the employees must use MFA. This multi-factor authentication, sorry.
Thank you. Any questions? Questions from the board?
I don't have any questions. I have a few comments though. So I did get an email from an employee, and I, with their permission, I'm just going to read through it because I think that they bring up some good points and some valid concerns. So emails are expected to be replied to within a couple of days, but many staff only work a couple hours a day or not all 5 days per week. I know that I personally, at 10 hours a week over 3 days, absolutely cannot stay on top of my emails without my personal phone. Also, some staff do not have a designated desk, desktop, or district device to check email, etc. on. They are constantly on the move around one site or across multiple sites. While the district does have a site requirement of having one available computer in the office for these staff, that practice is unrealistic. Are they supposed to keep popping into the office whenever they might have 10 minutes free to see if maybe that computer is available? What happens if they check a couple of times a day and it's not available? These staff in particular absolutely must use their phones. I can understand the district having the right to lock out their My Work Outlook account for malware or disciplinary investigation. They should not have the right to subpoena or confiscate my otherwise mess with my device, physically or digitally. This policy does not reflect the reality of many of our jobs. And the district wants our current productivity level without the malware risk of our personal devices. They should give us work devices so that we can use those for MFA. District currently requires us to use our phones for this and encourages us to download the Outlook MFA app. Well, among other things, a classified new employee orientation, district managers are encouraging new staff to download apps on their phone. Granted, these apps are for absences and pay stubs, but it lends itself towards staff thinking there are no consequences to use their phones for all kinds of work items, or what is to be expected of them, even when no one explicitly tells them to use a specific app. And all current staff have received district emails encourage them to download the Catapult app on their phones. Even further, this policy draft prohibits using personal devices on the district network. In the cases of phones, some people might not have the unlimited data to burn through for work. Also, for those who have been loaned a district laptop, there are many times when it may malfunction, or some people may just prefer to use their own laptop for work-related tasks or meetings. This current draft policy is hypocritical, unrealistic, and serves only to allow yet one more action for discipline. So I actually think that there's some valid points kind of in that in that email. So I don't know if we can kind of maybe dig into some of those questions from the employee, because I mean, it is, I do understand where they're coming from on using a personal device, but I understand where we're at with our security things. But if we're asking them to only be in and they're only in for 10 hours a week and they do have to use a personal phone, is there some leeway or something that we can do to alleviate some of what they're talking about? Is there options for more laptops available for them, or is there some things that we can do to mitigate some of those stressors?
Would you like us to respond to some of those items, or do we want to maybe bring that information? Because I can respond to several of those.
Please.
With regards to the MFA, we do actually have tokens, so staff do not have to use their device in that scenario. With regards to Catapult or those other apps, that's an optional decision of the employee if they would like to use that as an additional activity with their personal device or not. With regards to the Wi-Fi, they can use the guest Wi-Fi. They're just not allowed to attach to the district Wi-Fi. So there's a guest version of the Wi-Fi that they would have access to there that obviously has a higher level of filter control than the district employee Wi-Fi, which would be devices that are only owned by the district. So a lot of those concerns are, at least in those regards, with regards to access and checking email, that is a concern. We often hear it mostly from classified staff, which based off of the communication, it sounds like that is a situation. We can look at trying to have for more options or opportunities to access in more areas. And so we can look at that and work with our teams on that one for sure. With regards to using your personal device and then potentially having it subject to some kind of search, those types of things, a procedure, that would be in a situation where the district receives a records request. What we do is we work with the employee, and the employee then provides the information if there is anything on their phone. We don't take their device. The only time that would occur is if it was actually through a court system, and that then becomes a legal situation where you have to maybe turn your phone over to law enforcement or whatever the case may be. But that wouldn't be a decision by the district. So I don't think it is to the level that the staff member is speaking to in that situation. But and maybe Dawn, I don't know if there's anything else I've missed on that.
Yeah, well, when it comes to, we don't have the power to subpoena a phone or phone records. Someone else would do that. That'd be a legal move. That would not be HR. We have never asked someone for their personal phone. Sometimes we get public access requests, which we honor. And in that, they might say, we want to see communications between people. So.
You said public access, public records.
I'm sorry.
Yep.
Public records request, correct. It's PRA, public records request. So when we get a PRA, what we'll do is we'll ask the employee to download, for example, their emails or their text messages. We'll go through and we'll make sure there's no names or inappropriate things. And the example, because I've worked with staff on this, the example I like to give is this. In a search for something like that, if someone were to say that I had a gun in my car, they can't look in my glove box. If they thought it was a rifle, right? If it's a handgun, they could look in my glove box. If they think it's a rifle, they can look in my trunk. They can look at, in the back seat. But it doesn't make sense that you would fit a rifle in the glove box. So that's the same thing with searching your phone. They can't go in. They can't ask to look at everything in your phone. They could ask the conversation between the superintendent and a board member, right? They could make that request. And then that would be the scope of the request. They couldn't go in and search a board member's phone for everything or search the superintendent's phone for everything.
Ms. Reed?
Yeah, I get that, and I don't think I disagree with you on that point regarding the privacy element. But I think that the employee does raise some interesting points that I think I don't disagree with. To prohibit the use of certain technology by employees and requiring them to use district technology. And, keep in mind, we're kind of pseudo-employees of the district. We may be elected, but so does that mean the district's going to issue us cell phones for the benefit of communicating with the district and dealing with emails? And I don't really want to carry 2 cell phones, but I guess if I have to, I guess that's fine, but I really don't want to. We use that technology that you're proposing to prohibit.
I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I do believe as an employee, you basically say that if you are using your own technology, you are agreeing to the technology agreement, which is that you will not be using it in a way that is not correct. And I don't know, I, for some reason, remember this as part of all of the agreements that you sign as an employee, that being part of that. As a former employee, I would say the one point that's stuck out the most to me was the catapult thing, because catapult is our safety communication. And yes, while it's voluntary, it's really not. And so if we're leaving a classroom and we need to get that information, we're not taking our laptop with us. We're grabbing our phone and getting the kids out and going. And so yes, while it is optional, is it really optional? Or how else is that information being delivered to the teachers, to the admin, to the necessary staff? So to me, that was the one thing that stuck out the most, was we had to have our phones for catapults as an AP at Folsom Middle School. And so that was my, that's how we got the information we needed. So that was the one thing.
So hopefully this helps, because there was a lot, Trustee Larrett, that you said. So the one thing I was a little bit hung up on is the cell phone piece. And so I checked in with David Stone, who is our director at ETIS, and via email, because he's away at a conference. And I also checked in with Pam Oyen, who's our director of education technology. And the statement, employees are prohibited from using non-district issued technological devices, that does not include cell phones. That includes routers and printers and all of that. So his is no, in order to use a non-device such as a PC or a laptop, not including a cell phone, staff need to get permission from ETIS. This is for the sake of data privacy. So I think there might be a need to further clarify in that, because I think that's one of the sticking points. I don't know if it's all of it.
Yeah.
but
I think,
it's-
yeah, I think if we'd maybe just, can go back and maybe define some of these things, I think a little bit better for a little bit more clarity. And then honestly, I was kind of caught up on her first, portion of it of having a few more laptops available to check emails for those employees, I think. So if we could.
That's something
maybe
Sean addressed, I
look-
think.
Yeah. So I think if we could kind of maybe work on that, because it sounds like it's kind of come up before too. So maybe if we can kind of get that addressed.
Yeah, I think, and Pam said, just to circle back on that, is that because and Trustee Lofthouse, this is kind of what you're saying, being that there is an app, I don't want to call it an expectation, but an expectation of the Catapult, then that presumes that your cell phone can be used, and then you're then signing the employee technology use agreement that then says that you're going to use it appropriately, blah, blah, blah. So,
The one thing
I got
that's
some of that info.
that's a little perplexing is that, there are educational institutions out there, including public, not and private, that have adopted a BYOD policy, bring your own device, to save the educational institution, money. So there's obviously technology solutions to the concerns that are being raised. Just worth pointing out.
So maybe this one goes back and we have ETIS and technology kind of define what some of this means before it comes back to us.
Yeah, it sounds like we'll be 3 for our last 3 on that.
Sorry,
guys. But no, I think so. Better to get that language right and make sure we all understand what that is. Again, we have a couple of public comments on this. Let me take it out to that, and then we'll bring it back and see if we're all on board with that. Looks like our first one is from Earl Smith.
Good evening, Board, President Huey, Mr. Swanson. In support of that teacher, thank you for reading that. How many teachers or just how many people bought a new phone and have an extra phone laying around? A lot of people. That could be a solution. That person uses that at school and then submit it through the district and so forth. Other point I like to make is that that using the guest Wi-Fi, I don't know about all the schools. I can just talk about Folsom High. Faith didn't have a phone. Everyone else has a phone. I'm like, no. Freshman year, sophomore year. Junior year, she had one. She has one now. And the reason, she had a phone, but she don't have no service. So that's what she would use, is that guest Wi-Fi. It's awful. So I don't even think that's, there's some spots it works well to a degree, but that I just can't imagine a teacher have to resort to that to deal with certain things that they would need to do for work. The other thing is we have to consider all different teachers. And I teach privately, so it's something I do. I use my phone regularly, and this is a metronome. I call myself pro voice and piano lessons because I'm a teacher that requires students to be able to play to a metronome. Most private teachers don't do that. They try to, but it's very difficult. And all recording that happens, all these movies and songs, it's all done to a metronome. That's all it does. And there's different ways of this click happening. I just think it would be difficult for a specialist teacher who requires a device to help their students and have to use a certain approved district and move quickly with the times. It takes forever, and the students will be hurt from that. So that just 2 things to consider. Especially Mr. Reed in this comment. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Jeanette Sanzabach.
So I have some issues with this, which I brought up to Mr. Swanson. One, when I went ahead and read this, I had the same concerns as the individual who went ahead and wrote you. Though board member Lofthouse went ahead and talked about Catapult, and when she was an AP, she required to go ahead and use that to communicate and to understand for safety. However, we do have teachers within our district that do not go ahead and download Catapults. One of the questions that I went ahead and asked Mr. Swanson is, what are they supposed to go ahead and do? Because it is not required to go ahead and download on your personal device. So therefore, when the teachers are out of their classroom, what are they supposed to be using in order to go ahead and communicate the safety plan for that? Secondly, the employee use technology agreement. I actually went to my files, and my employee use of technology is empty. It's not there. So I don't know, and I went to look at the string of consent items that were on there. It was not on there either. So I'm not exactly sure where this document is in our files, and when we signed it, or when I signed it last for that. But I agree with those individuals who have gone ahead and said this needs to go back and have some work done to it. It's not following a federal or state guideline. It's only following guidelines from the California Board Association, which is not law, nor does it make policy for this organization. You do. So thank you.
Thank you. Diana Laney.
Thank you, board members. For this particular item, what I would ask is that you reach out to staff, reach out to classified staff, reach out to the sites, and engage the people who are actually using and interacting with the school. So whatever programs, obviously, I don't know what all of those are as a community member, but what is the actual reality of how they're interacting with these items? Because it's great to pass a policy, but you have, thousands of employees who are all maybe interpreting it differently. They're utilizing it differently. They're maybe have workarounds or don't even understand what it is that they're signing, and find out what is it that is being utilized, so that when you do have a policy or you engage with maybe new technology to make sure that you have the right kind of surveillance or compliance, that reflects how people are actually using it. And I don't know that you can do that if you're just having committees that are not engaging the actual users in the situation. So that's all I would ask is please engage the users, whether that's teachers, site staff, classified staff, people who are maybe, third parties. Engage those groups when coming up with the policies and procedures that are going to relate to this. So thank you.
All right, that's all for our in-person comments. Do we have any online? None online. It sounds like we will be bringing this back on December 17th. If there's no objection from the board.
I did have one more question. Actually, oh, perfect. Okay, good. We have a little more time. On the employee technology agreement, how often does that get updated? And then how often do the employees have to sign that? Is it like a once a year thing? Is it just when you get hired? How when we update it, are our existing employees then having to re-sign that, or what is that process?
There's an annual notice that HR sends out. It's upon hire, and then there's an annual notice.
Okay, thanks.
So it sounds like it doesn't need to come back as soon as the 17th. I'll leave it up to the discretion of Superintendent Swanson when this come back. Mr. Clark?
Yeah, Mr. President, if I may. I do know that we do have through CSBA a AI committee, and I know they've been in discussion about this, and I can almost guarantee you that will probably be part of the delegate assembly too.
So it's worth waiting until
it's definitely worth waiting. So yeah, I just want to let you know I got a funny feeling that this will be one of the hot button items that will hit the floor.
It'll be a fun meeting for all of you guys. Okay.
We'll talk to Kara about that.
All right. So I think we're good. Superintendent Swanson, you've got enough.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you.
Okay. Then to item G, approve revised board policy 4118, dismissal, suspension, disciplinary action.
Yeah, before I jump into this, when we posted this board agenda, what was attached originally was the AR, the admin regulation. We updated that this morning, so I apologize for that oversight. So the correct attachment for the board policy is attached now. I know I met with Jeanette yesterday. There was a concern on the AR, which the district can get to, right? So we'll circle back to that. But for consideration today is BP 4118. This went to the policy subcommittee on 11/4. CSBA recommended revisions updated to reflect the court decision in Visalia Unified School District versus PERB. An employee may not be disciplined for engaging in protected activities or acting to protect students engaging in free speech or right to press. Updated to amend the list of what may be considered disciplinary actions to more closely align with the law. And this also reflects our district practices, and added a new section titled Compulsory Leave of Absence. For consistency with law and the accompanying regulation, mandatory leave of absence offenses included any sex offense violation or attempted violation of Penal Code 187, unlawful sale, use, or exchange of a controlled substance to minors. So these are the CSBA recommended revisions to 4118 for your consideration.
Thank you. Questions from the board? Not seeing any. We do have a public comment from Tracy Suter.
Thank you. The comment was in part on AR 4118, but I'd like to make a comment, not in my capacity as FCEA executive officer, but as a longtime employee of the district. Back in the 2000s, I was a lead teacher, and one of the committee or regular meetings we attended, we got the job of updating all the board policies and ARs that no one had touched in decades. It was a combination of classroom teachers and a lot of managers as well. And having that voice at the table helped, because your board policies and your ARs are not for you, they're for us and for students. So Jeanette talked earlier about getting the employees' opinions on things, and it's welcome. But if we can get those opinions and voices in earlier in the process, I think we save everyone a lot of time and get better product. So I would like to see us include some teacher voice in the board policy review committee to avoid some of what's been happening tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, I'm going to bring it back to the board if there's any final public comment or a motion.
Mr. Reed, I just had a quick question. Are there teachers on our board policy committee currently?
You know, I was just thinking that in the past there were, but I haven't seen a teacher on that recently.
So currently, who sits in that policy?
2 board members, so myself and Mr. Hui, executive staff, superintendent. Occasionally they pull in subject matter folks depending on what the subject matter of the policy is.
So is this something that we could make sure we add some teacher and classified voice into?
There's enough evidence from tonight's process that we probably need to relook
And maybe
at it.
students even would be awesome.
Well, students have been,
They've been in there. They're invited,
Okay.
but they're too busy.
Having surgeries and stuff.
Yeah.
Let me just to keep it clean, if that works, I'll add a note under suggest future agenda items that will bring this back
Perfect.
up.
Do we need to bring it back other than the district?
That's fine with me.
Because it's
if we
the
just
policy
do it.
subcommittee, and I'll take the board's direction on this, but what I'm hearing is not necessarily on the policy subcommittee. I feel like there might be some committee work, equity committee work, getting fingerprints on the policies, and then the last stop before the dais is the board policy subcommittee that already has the input. So.
Yes and no. I feel like those last sides should still include probably somebody from FCEA and somebody from CSEA, in my opinion. But I think that even after it goes to all of those people, I think that it would be an important step to make sure that there's those eyes and ears and voice included.
Might have some volunteers in the room.
Volunteers?
I see them. Nope.
The waving in the back.
It looks like consensus from the board around that.
Yeah, sounds good.
Okay. We still are looking then for a motion for this or any final comments.
A motion.
Motion by Ms. Lofthouse. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Ms. Larrett.
Just for clarification, Mr. President, what is the motion containing? I mean,
We're
going to,
moving to approve item G.
okay.
Call for the vote. Okay. Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mr. Clark?
No.
Ms. Larrett?
Aye.
Ms. Lofthouse?
Aye.
Mr. Reed?
Aye.
Mr. Hui?
Aye.
Motion carries 4-1.
Thank you. All right, item H, approve revised board policies 4119.11, 4219.11, 4319.11, sex discrimination and sex-based harassment, and board policy 5145.7, sex discrimination and sex-based harassment.
Yeah, thank you. This was reviewed by the Board Policy Subcommittee on November 4th, 2024. CSBA recommended revisions updated to include sex discrimination and sex-based harassment, updated per AB 1955, which prohibits retaliation of employees for filing complaint or participation in investigation regarding sex discrimination or sex-based harassment, and updated to reflect changes in Title IX regulations, includes requirement for employees to report knowledge of sex discrimination or sex-based harassment within 1 workday, and employees may be disciplined for failure to timely report, adds requirements of supportive measures for respondent.
Any questions from the board? Take it out for public comments. I don't see any in person. Are there any online? Okay, I bring it back to the board for final comment or motion.
I'll move.
Motion by Mr. Clark. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Ms. Larrett. Superintendent.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mr. Clark?
Aye.
Ms. Larrett?
Aye.
Ms. Lofthouse?
Aye.
Mr. Reed?
Aye.
Mr. Hui?
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you. On to item I, approve revised board policy 4216, probationary/permanent status.
There we go. Reviewed by the Board Policy Subcommittee on November 4th, updated to reflect CSBA recommended revisions from September 2022, updated language regarding probationary period of 130 days or 6 months, which can no longer be extended to 9 months. So whatever is longer between 130 days and 6 months. 130, yeah. District removed the language about full-time police officers because we do not employ police officers. Rather, we contract with the police departments for our SROs, and district probationary evaluation language to align with our practices. We only provide a written evaluation at the end of the 6-month period if they are not released prior to that time. However, we do conduct a 30, 60, and 90-day informal evaluations/meetings.
Any questions from the board?
I think I'm going to venture to say this one would be great to have FCEA and CSEA have their eyes on, as it's directly related to the probationary period. So, okay, CSEA.
Yeah.
So I think that this is one of those that needs to go back, as long as the timeliness could work to add the pertinent voices.
December 17th, if we can get back there.
Can I clarify what this
Yes, sir.
actually does? The law changed on the timeline that we could have a classified employee in probationary status. The previous law stated that a probationary period was 6 months. At the end of 6 months, or at 6 months, we could sit down with that employee and we could say, you haven't quite passed probation, so we're going to extend your probation to 9 months. What this law did, it said you can no longer extend probation to 9 months. So we've already met with the bargaining unit and worked on that contract language, because our contract language also reflected the old law. So this is just bringing us current with a law we couldn't, even if the board said extended probation to 9 months. If we did that, we would go to PERB and we would lose. So this is basically changing the probationary timeline according to statute.
Any other questions?
I might retract my last comment.
Okay, I'm not seeing any other questions. I don't see any public comment in person. There's none online, so we'll bring it back to the board for a final comment or a motion to approve item I.
I'll move.
Motion by Ms. Larrett. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Ms. Lofthouse. Superintendent.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mr. Clark?
Aye.
Ms. Larrett?
Aye.
Ms. Lofthouse?
Aye.
Mr. Reed?
Aye.
Mr. Hui?
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Ogden, for the explanation. Item J, approve revised board policy 5131.8, mobile communication devices.
Yes, so we're bringing this back. We had a discussion item at the October 3rd board meeting. To remind the board, we had 3 options for your consideration. I think in that meeting, I called them the small, medium, and large option. As a reminder, the small option was to continue with the current policy, which is prohibiting cell phone use in pre-K to 8 completely, as well as in high school in 9-12 during class time. The medium option was the same policy for pre-K 8 with principal discretion for prohibiting cell phones at the high school with ultimate superintendent approval. And then the large was the prohibition, essentially the pre-K 8 model, pre-K 12. So there was a really robust and helpful discussion that then it was recommended we take back to the policy committee and come back to the board for a vote. And so what did Trustee Reed took the feedback and took the policies and combined them. I jokingly said Frankenstein them into a policy where there's some additional language around powered off and not in bathrooms and consulting SAB that is added into the current policy. And so this is where we're at for today for the consideration of the board. And the current policy is based on feedback from the October 3rd board meeting.
Great. Any questions from the board? I'm not seeing any. We'll bring it out then to public comment for item J. I don't see any in person. There are none online as well. Go back to the board for any final comment or in a motion to approve item J.
Yeah, Mr. President.
Yeah.
I really do like how SAB is being included in this policy. It's kind of like a checks and balances sort of thing on how students who are being affected by this policy can kind of not really fight back, but work together with a site admin and the superintendent to get this implemented or not. And I'm really glad it's in here because it gives future SABs, this power. It's not just like some one-off thing. It's like really cementing it in there. So I'm glad this is being in the policy, and this is one of the big reasons why I'll vote aye on it today.
That's great. Thank you, Mr. Merrill. Okay, I'm not hearing any other comments, so entertain a motion for item J.
I'll move.
Motion by Mr. Reed. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Merrill.
Mr. Merrill.
Aye.
Mr. Clark.
Aye.
Ms. Larrett.
Aye.
Ms. Lofthouse.
Aye.
Mr. Reed.
Aye.
Mr. Hui.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0.
Okay, thank you. Okay, that gets us through all of our board policies. Congratulations, everybody, except for the ones that are coming back. So move on to item 12, discussion. 12A, improve your tomorrow and Earth Mama Healing expansion. Superintendent.
Yeah, I'll jump in and then Dr. Huber, if you want to follow me. I know that on the June 6th board meeting, there was a question from the board around, could we potentially expand the Improve Your Tomorrow program and Earth Mama Healing programs to some of our Folsom schools, Folsom Middle, Sutter Middle, Folsom Line Vista, Del Lago. And as you see in the attachment, IYT said that they may be able to expand to one additional school, but isn't really recommending it based on staffing challenges that already are currently impacting Cordova High School. And I believe Earth Mama Healing is stating that that is not necessarily aligned to their mission. Is that correct, Dr. Huber? I don't want to speak out of turn on that one.
Yes, that is basically correct. Also, in terms of the numbers of students, again, to have staff available is also an issue.
So this is just a discussion we're bringing back to circle back to the inquiry from the board in the public space.
Great.
I do believe both organizations are interested in terms of looking at this, every year or so, just to reassess as we move along.
Okay. This year, the recommendation from the organizations are either to not move forward or to take the staff that they do have and kind of emphasize it or make sure that they're running an appropriate program on the campuses that they're already on.
That's correct.
Any questions from the board?
Yes, Mr. President.
Go ahead, Mr. Clark.
So with IYT, they did say that they have the capacity to maybe do one more school, and that school obviously would be in Rancho Cordova, correct?
But that would be up to the board and the district.
Yeah, no, actually what was brought forward was to bring this onto the Folsom side of the
Okay,
district.
so
yeah.
So how would we identify that school in Folsom if they were to?
So I talked to Dr. Peace about this. I don't know if you want me to speak to it. Okay.
No, please.
So I believe that there has to be certain demographics at the schools in which that they will come in and run their programs. And with IYT, it's designed to go from middle school all the way through college. And while we have one middle school that might meet that criteria in Folsom, it doesn't have the feeder demographics at the high school level to continue the program to its fullest extent. And so that was why one of the reasons they sort of said it's probably not best and we would rather focus our attention on the programs that we have.
Okay, thank you.
That's correct.
Mr. Reed.
Yeah, I mean, if it doesn't meet their demographics, it doesn't meet their demographics, and I'm fine with that. But I would like to, I know I sometimes hear this out in the public, both by sometimes folks within the district, sometimes folks outside the district, that try to paint a narrative that the Folsom high schools are not diverse. The Folsom high schools are very diverse. It may be a different type of diverse than Cordova High, but I certainly don't want the public to think that we lack diversity in the Folsom high schools. In particular, Folsom High is probably one of the most diverse schools I have seen. It has significant members of many different races there. Again, it may not meet the demographics that they're looking to meet, but anyway, that's all I wanted to state.
Thanks, Ms. Reed. Yeah. I don't see any other questions here. Again, this is just discussion. We do have a public comment, so we'll go to there and then bring it back to the board. Earl Smith.
Good evening, President Huey, Mr. Swanson, and the board. I agree with Mr. Reed. The Folsom High School is very diverse, very diverse. However, when you walk into the front office and you look at the wall and you see a picture of all the teachers, it is not diverse. And I believe that's contributed to some of the issues why I even before came up and asked, why is this not at Folsom High? Because my daughter, who identifies as Black, is also Native American and Mexican. She's not feel supported at the school. In a meeting where Dr. Peace was in the meeting, it was concluded that the principal has some issues with communication and listening in such a manner that it's damaging to children. So I understand if the demographics of the school doesn't meet this program, but maybe we could, as a district, as the board, look for other ways to support the demographics of the school. Because it's not just Black students. Many of Faith's students or friends are Indian or Asian, partly because she looks Filipino. And me being originally from Orange County, I was raised around a lot of Filipinos, so very close with that culture. But the complaint she has, it crosses over many other cultures. So, with that said, is it possible to have a Black student union? I mean, we had it at Anaheim High School. We used to do a field trip, I think, every 3 months to Fullerton, or the Cal State Fullerton. And that was what removed my fear that, I can go to college and be comfortable here. At least getting my eyes looked elsewhere. Calvin is the first name doctor. I can't remember his last name, but he's at FLC, Folsom Lake College. He's Black. And I know Mr. Clark has worked with Calvin on different activities that support Black students. Maybe Folsom Lake College can be implemented in some form or fashion. I know I've spoken to Calvin about this, and he was very interested. So maybe this is not the right program, but maybe there's another program that can be explored to do the same type of work.
Thank you. Okay, so we'll bring it back to the board. This was, again, just discussion. It sounds to me like where we maybe want to be with this is that we'll do an annual or every 2-year check-in with IYT and with Earth Mama Healing. I imagine probably during their report anyways around the year, we can always follow up with them around what might it look like to expand, and if there's some wisdom in that. If the board's okay with that, let's move forward that way.
Yeah, Mr. President, thank you, Earl, for your comments. And yeah, Folsom Lake College does have a program. It's the Black Men's Summit, and I attended that and worked with Calvin and also Art Pimentel on that. And I know they're moving forward with doing another one. But what I did see at that summit, and I don't think there were any people of color from Folsom. I know there were many from Cordova, but I didn't see any from Folsom, nor did I see any from Vista attend that summit. So moving forward, I could do my due diligence to try to help and recruit those men and other POCs that may want to attend that summit. Pardon me? Yeah, I was just agreeing with your comment on that, but yeah, so we'll talk offline.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Clark. Okay. Sounds like we're good moving forward on that one. Superintendent?
Yeah, absolutely.
You're clear? Okay.
That's great.
Great. On to item 13, Superintendent's report.
Start off by welcoming Van back. We missed you. Glad you're on the mend. I would like to say, coming out of closed session and seeing all the young faces in the room from Riverview STEM really created some amazing energy in this space. And I just wanted to thank Laurie Powell, the principal, and the team over there for organizing that. And I think she said something that was really important when the robot didn't work as planned. That is science, right? And so I think that's the mindset that we're actually working on as a system, is through the Plan, Do, Study, Act process, where we learn from not succeeding and adjusting to make sure that we have the opportunity to succeed in the future. So I wanted to thank them for that. And I wanted to thank you, Tim, again. We already did that. I just, we'll figure out ways to hook you back into our system, because we need your insight and your compassion to be supporting our district moving forward. So I'll figure out a way. And I want to also specifically thank our classified certificate administrative teammates and our trustees and our parents and our community for all their support, and wish everyone a happy Thanksgiving. Enjoy the time and stay dry.
Thank you. All right. Thank you. We're going on to item 14, board member committee reports. Start with our student board member, Mr. Merrill.
I'd like to thank everyone for the get well wishes. It's been 2 weeks since I broke my collarbone. For those of you who don't know, that's why I'm in a sling today. It's been very long and very boring, and I'm very glad I'm back up here because I really missed it, and it brings some life into my recently bland life. So I'd like to thank everyone for the get well wishes. And I will be fully recuperated in, I think, 10 weeks. By the new year, I should be A-okay. So looking forward to that. Thank you.
Fantastic. Ms. Lefthouse.
Thank you. Last week, I had the pleasure of attending Folsom Middle School's Ruby Bridges Walk to School Day, and it was organized by Elton Thomas, who is the school registrar, and he put in so much time and effort and energy into this event. And to be honest, I didn't know what his role was at the school initially, and when I was walking and talking with him, he said, "Oh yeah, I'm just the school registrar." I was like, "You are not just the school registrar. Like, look at how many kids are here." And he had over 200 kids, and it was amazing. And he said, he went on, and he was like, "I've got this project for lunch going on, and we're doing this activity and this activity." So it wasn't just the walk that he planned, but he planned a whole day for it. And everybody was super excited, closed down Blue Ravine, and which probably made a lot of people not so happy on their way to work. But I think that it really showed off the desire for inclusion and our appreciation for diversity in our district. And I want to applaud him for an amazing event. And he had those kids super well organized, and it was really great. So that's all.
Thank you. Ms. Larrett.
I wanted to extend my very heartfelt thank you to Matt Washburn. Mr. Washburn, I saw the sign on front of the Performing Arts Center and I was very excited. We've been working on this project for probably about 2 or 3 years because I didn't like that the sign at the Performing Arts Center was tiny behind a tree and people would walk in thinking they were going to a basketball game instead of a orchestra concert. So I went to the school the other day and there's a huge, giant, beautiful sign on the very front of the building. And so I just really wanted to extend my very heartfelt gratitude to you on that. I know it's been something I've been harping on, so I appreciate you taking that off my giant spreadsheet list. And I really wanted to extend my heartfelt thanks to the Rancho Cordova community. I think we're very safe to say that our bonds have passed with flying colors, and wanted to extend my gratitude also for the bond committee and all the hard work that they put into it. A lot of fundraising efforts and knocking on doors and reaching out to the community and our community members for being just super responsive. And I'm just really excited about what the future of our Rancho Cordova schools is going to look like, and look forward to some very robust collaboration at the school sites as we move towards using those bond dollars in the most economical and thoughtful way possible. So other than that, happy Thanksgiving to everybody.
Thank you. Mr. Reed.
Yeah, I just, I guess, would like to wish everybody a wonderful Thanksgiving. I hope everybody spends time with family and friends and loved ones. And if you're one of those who are struggling during the holiday season, that I hope and pray that they find someone that they can share that time with as well. And then I also want to recognize the day after Thanksgiving, not for Black Friday. Even that's what everybody looks forward to, I suppose. But I want to recognize that it is Native American Heritage Day. So I want to recognize that. So that's all I have for tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Clark.
Thank you, Tim. Actually, last week I had the opportunity to visit Cordova Villa and participate in their Ruby Bridges walk. Elton, who is a good friend of mine, invited me to Folsom Middle, but I had to accept Cordova Villa because they were first. So, but anyway, it was very powerful to have the kids walk around. They actually made little pictures and they understood the concept of that and what Ruby Bridges meant. I'm not sure how many schools participated. Off the top of my head, I can only think of 4.
I think it was 15.
Was there 15? Okay.
Dr. Peace and I counted when we were there. So.
Okay, great. Yeah, and hopefully we can get more schools on board next year and really explain the significance of that walk. Other than that, I just want to congratulate Cordova's soccer team. They'll be heading to the playoffs, and Folsom Bulldogs, their football team, will be playing Intercom tomorrow night in the rain. And I wish them the best of luck as well. So that's all I had.
All right, thank you. I do have a couple brief comments. I think I will save them till the end of the meeting, but did want to shout out. We were talking earlier in the night. We were having dinner about how great a job Folsom High has done on their play, Mean Girls. So just want to congratulate them. I think they've got their final weekend here. If you haven't been, try to get a chance to go. We'll get out of here as soon as we can, so Ms. Lofthouse can also get out there tonight. So that then would move us on to next board meeting, which we will have a special board study session on December 9th, 2024, and then our regular Board of Education meeting December 17th, where we'll talk about a few policies, it sounds like. We have our 12-month board calendar there for your review. And then item C, suggested future agenda items. Is there anything anybody would like to add?
Did we want to add that, or was that confirmed that we didn't need to add it to the?
Yeah, I think we're good without adding it, getting the representation on the policy committee. Thank you for the reminder. Okay, I'm not hearing any others. I have a list of about 17 things I would like to add. So then, nothing else there. Next time we recess closed session, we did finish our business in closed session, so we will come all the way to item 20, adjournment. Before we adjourn, if you just take me a moment to just a couple more words to express my gratitude. I started with the great Rod Stewart. I'll end with the great E.B. White, who said, "I arise in the morning torn between a desire to enjoy the world, between a desire to improve the world and a desire to enjoy the world. This makes it hard to plan the day." I'll just say very quickly, my experience on this board with the people in this room and the people at FCUSD is that we don't have to choose between these two things, improvement and enjoyment. It's my hope for the students, teachers, support staff, administration, all the district staff, that you would continue to hold those two things together, improvement and enjoyment. So with that, unless there is any objection, we will adjourn. We are adjourned. Gavel, gavel.